There are two types of games I thoroughly enjoy and I can't get enough of. Games with an overwhelmingly significant amount of tasteful violence, and games that don't treat you like you're the center of the universe. So as you can probably tell, a certain game has caught my attention, and I would love to tell you about it today. So just sit back, relax, and let your boy Nightcried FM tell you all about a game he's been really having fun with recently. So, welcome to the sequel of the first game of the same name, where you played as the one and only hedge fund Sigma male manager, Chad Wheeler, who invested in an underground bunker, while all his contemporaries jumped piss off a 50-story skyscraper because of the GameStop pump. While certainly very unfortunate. When he finally came out 364 days later, he was surprised to find that the world is exactly the same as it always has been, except now with little to no regulations for new Sigma male aspiring CEOs. And life now has a very high turnover rate. You are one of many refugees to have come from long-established settlements that fell victim to a new strain of zombie called the Invisible Strain, which has become so advanced from the normal zombie strains that its symptoms are near impossible to tell before they infect you. Their eyes don't change color like the other strains and are actually able to retain their humanity long enough to remain in hiding, making growls to themselves, overjoyed at the thought of violence, and scheming for moments where they can separate you alone from the rest of your group, and turn you into one of them. This is why you deal with raiders,
You're still alive. How much armor do you have?
looters, pesky refugees, who, much like yourself at one point, need a place to stay. And to no one's surprise, for anybody who's ever played even a single survival game, thirst, hunger, and sleep deprivation. As well as the need to have 4 walls and a roof, or a furnished house, or a trailer, or a supermarket, or even a gas station, with a way to see over the walls to make you feel like you're living in your very own fucking castle. Now, full disclosure, I'm not very much of a Project Zomboid fan, and I'm not actually sure why. It could be because the concept of gravity doesn't exist where it should in a proper survival situation. It could be that regular zombies who skulk towards me have become dull and boring. Or maybe even that the game has been in early access and doesn't have NPCs like all the other games in the genre typically do for the last 10 years. But I'm actually not here to make too many comparisons. Except in Survivalist, you can do this. Yeah, I had too much fun making bases next to hills because of that. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob, for misrepresenting your game as a cliff sliding simulator. Okay, but gameplay, Cried. How does it work? Simple. You hold right-click to swing a melee weapon with a lock-on, and you shoot the same way. But you miss like hell, and they complain in the Steam reviews. Much like Fallout, with every weapon you're given the ability to target different limbs in the way that you'd expect it. Head, torso, legs, and if you're not wearing armor or remembering to repair that armor and neglect a shot to your leg, then you're going to be like that one joke that goes, "Hey dad, I just had sex for the first time." "That's great, son. How was it?" "My ass hurt." So always wear protection unless you want to be limping. Keep a Molotov on you at all times, as a Molotov is the only weapon in this game that seems to trump the rock, paper, scissors dynamic of the game balance in this game. Just remember that NPCs in this game are notorious for having infinite ammo, including the aforementioned firebombs. And that there is a difference between pads and tampons. One stops bleeding, but it doesn't make it any better. The other soaks it up and gets it all nice and damp until you're ready to roll if you sit still and wait a while. Other than that, you'll be spending most of your time looting and managing bases. Unlike other games in the same genre, something I really appreciate about this game is finely tuned compromise of realistic survival versus just being a fun game, where suspension of disbelief can take the rest away. Not every game has to be like Factorio. Which leads me to my next point about how this game is essentially the Rimworld of zombie survival games. That's a bigger deal than you realize, and let me explain why. This game is at its best when it's using something called Emergent gameplay. Everyone in the game has a name and their own assigned personality tags, making them extremely unique. You may go on a quest to steal a chicken if a girl likes you enough, because she has the same sociopath trait, and form your own little narrative that way. You might find a couple of your allies arguing over personal grievances. One time I almost died laughing when someone described another character cheating on their partner as badass. And it's as random and funny as it sounds. Then you might have someone you kicked out show back up in a raid against you, give you a run for your money, and then somebody in the attacking group busts out the invisible moves and turns into a three-way battle. Maybe there's a huge looter camp nearby that you can't defeat on your own, so you cut off and fry some zombie meat to poison and ruin them from the inside. Geneva Convention be damned. Possibilities for fun unique to your own playthrough are vast, and I can't praise it enough. Just like there are 5 Steam keys for the game courtesy of my boy Bob that are in between frames of this video. I wholeheartedly recommend this game, but if you're not convinced, maybe the best way to talk about how insane this game can be might be to simply tell you a story of one of my adventures. See this map? There were 3 settlements here. One huge community, a medium-sized one, and a small one. They had the displeasure of my sights set on them. Since I hadn't made a settlement yet, and I didn't really have any options to conquer my way with, I laid in secret, camping outside the first settlement in the trees, inhaling expired canned foods by the dozens, and slurping up unboiled river water. I kept watch. I didn't have much on me, but the one thing I did have, however, was Molotov cocktails and the pitching arm of a baseball god. I bided my time and observed my prey, and one by one started fires that nobody could trace back. And those fires took the lives of a few prominent members of their ranks, with the last being their leader, who was framed for the fires and quietly brought to justice in their investigations. However, by this time I ran out of Molotovs, and their numbers were still thick. So I ran off to this third, smaller community, the smallest one, who hadn't seen visitors in a while, and they were more than happy to see me joining their small corner of the world. I got to know them, and I, even cared for them. Only to circle around them in the dead of the night and murder the traitor that was coming to visit, which lured the leader to come investigate what had just happened outside their front door. He met the same fate, and his compatriots presumably were scared shitless at the random fires combusting from the dead of the night, and turning them into a human torch. However, the leader wasn't dead, only unconscious from his wounds, much to my dismay, and unsuccessful in my attempts to destabilize their little society they had going on. I returned to the second settlement from earlier, undergoing a coup d'etat, because the power vacuum from the virtuous, moralistic leader's sudden execution caused a sociopathic authoritarian regime to take reign. So that same authoritarian leader only wanted unwavering loyalty in those under him, and thinned out the community of its political dissidents, exiling his best people. By this point I was like, well, holy fucking shit, look what I caused! But even now I still can't manage to take over what has essentially became a thinned out North Korea. Luckily, while I was sneaking in the bushes out of ammo trying to formulate a plan, a couple of literally nobody raiders living on hedonism and extortion for the sake of it that likely have justified their continued existence on zombie women, and zombie women only, catch my drift, try to sneak up on me. One of them watched in horror as I turned his only friend's head into guacamole, and then I held him at sledge point. An hour later, I had amassed a small army of volunteers that in no way, shape, or form were coerced into following my lead. Although they were minimally armed, I knew with the third settlement still in disarray, we could buy ourselves a house in a good neighborhood either by silver tongue or fire breath. We marched right up the stairs of what would someday be Babylon itself, Rome. The start of a new world with fruit roll-ups, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The right for women to vote, and most importantly, Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee. Yeah, no, there were not 1 but 4 heavily armored Invisible Strain zombies who actually ate alive and infected their unconscious leader after I had left. So the whole camp was in tatters, and what was previously Texas was now San Francisco. Our meat-shredding friends were actually in the safest place they can possibly be. Something I didn't realize until I foolishly opened Pandora's box by opening the gate and letting them out. But what followed was a 28 weeks later Olympic jog screaming, abandoning the small army that I had once promised salvation and iced coffee to. And since there was no way, even with bullets, that anybody in my position could take armored tards on, it was just impossible. Until finally, when my fight-or-flight instincts paused, I ended up wandering with a naive refugee that was denied access to the authoritarian community from before. Together we fought a hit-and-run style guerrilla war that led nowhere, eventually ending up retreating to the first community where, unbeknownst to me, word had spread of my influence, and a completely unrelated looter camp bankrolled private mercenaries to stalk and hunt me down. While weighing my options with this community, the last thing I heard before the door kicked in and guns blazing was the leader telling me that he keeps hearing growls coming from his home, and that he hoped it was just the night terrors getting to him. So there you have it. This is your man's Nightcry FM with my pitch for you to pick up the game. I didn't get into the modding kit, but I have tried it, and Bob has truly created something special with that as well. It's extensive and even covers quests and branching dialogues. And when I was trying to pitch zombie-infested arrows to Bob, it turned out he was planning it for the next update, so that's really cool. The game is in early access, but I hope this video encouraged you to drop $7 on it. That's 7 USD. In fact, if you weren't one of the lucky ones to find one of the 5 keys I hid in this video, Bob should have it on sale on Steam by the time this video is released. Do your favorite ex-mobster radio DJ Cried of Nightcry FM a favor and smash that subscribe button for more content like this. And when you're done trying to figure out who's got the invisible strain in your house right now, email Bob and tell him to keep on making this game forever and then some. I'd like a DLC like Rimworld Biotech that adds zombie experimentation with genes and the ability to have children. Here's Heart of Cold by yours truly to be the fire you need in a world that's continuing to freeze on over. Stay blessed.
You know, like Brust compound. Like a clan base. You know?